Once you created the audiences, you can share them amongst your team so you know what you're targeting for different programs for each of these marketing and sales channels.
Welcome to another episode of Powered by Snowflake, where I interview technology leaders building applications and businesses on Snowflake. Today, we are learning how Flywheel has built a first-party data platform that enables customer-driven data. With me is Chris Sell, CEO of Flywheel, and Tameem Iftikhar, CTO of Flywheel. Folks, how are you today?
Great. Thanks so much for having us, Daniel. I appreciate it.
Happy to be here.
Yeah, the same. And, to really kick this off, I want to learn more about both of you, kind of your backgrounds. Why and how did you kind of start this company and build it to where it is today? And tell me a little bit more about the company and its history.
Absolutely. Yeah, so Flywheel, the origin story goes back about a decade, actually. So my co-founder and I, David, worked at Google in Google Ads marketing at the intersection between data and how they activate it in their marketing, sales, customer service channels. And as we were working there, kind of the big aha moment was we saw the company starting to centralize data about customers. But the next question was, how do you activate that in all the tools you use for marketing, sales, customer service to build a better customer experience? And we saw this big gap in between the two. So we saw this data warehousing becoming very important to the company. But then there was all of the tools that they use on the separate side and a big gap in the middle. And so a few years later, as David and I ventured off from Google, we decided, hey, this is a space we'd like to get involved with and dive in deeper. And that was the genesis of Flywheel.
That's awesome. And, so for the viewers who aren't familiar with the term first-party data, tell me what that means.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's become a very popular term lately, I think largely because of folks like Apple starting to do restrictions on privacy and regulation. So typically what you see is third-party data and first-party data. First-party data is the data you're actually collecting about your customers. So when they sign up for a newsletter, you get their email address. When they make a purchase on your website, then you actually track that transaction. That's first-party data. It's the data that your customers have given you expressive consent to actually track. Third-party data, on the other hand, is what you hear about in the world of cookies and advertising. And in that world, you're actually tracking the users, but they're usually anonymous, and you're trying to figure out a way to track them without having direct access and consent on those cookies. So the world's starting to shift towards tracking more first-party data to grow their businesses and enterprises.
That's awesome. And so a better part of a decade is kind of how long you've been building up this platform, this application. Tell me where you are today. What's the size of Flywheel? Number of employees and funding and things like that.
Yeah, absolutely. So we call ourselves, like you said, a first-party data platform built for enterprise. And so we really focus on an enterprise customer base. We work with folks like Indeed. We actually work with Google, First Republic Bank. And we're about 40 employees now across San Francisco, Chicago, New York. And then there's several folks that are remote as well. And we've actually bootstrapped the company. So we're bootstrapped, we're a profitable company. And what that allows us to do is mainly just focus on the client use cases on top of Snowflake and put our full focus there.
That's incredible. That to be able to bootstrap with the background and everything that you have. I mean, you have some pretty amazing experience that's relevant to this space. So it's awesome to see that. I always like to have a hands-on demo to really bring home what the solution is that you built. Can we see that today?
Yeah, absolutely. And we can also run through kind of where a lot of technical leaders ask, where do you sit in the stack relative to Snowflake and how do you enable it? So we can kind of walk through where it fits into a holistic picture as well. So we'll do that. And then we love to walk through a demo on how it works.
That's perfect.
So to start, we kind of want to give an overview of how Flywheel and Snowflake fit in the overall data stack. And so this is usually what when we talk to analytics leaders at various companies, this is the typical stack we're starting to see be built around Snowflake as the center and how Flywheel fits into it. So if you start on the left-hand side, you have the ingestion piece of the stack. So this is how do we start to centralize your raw data in Snowflake? Now, there's several ways to do this. Obviously, there's a lot of batch transfer services out there, Fivetran, Stitch, Matillions of the world. And then there's the event collector services that are collecting event-driven data from mobile apps and websites to Snowflake as well. So on that side, we'll see Snowplow, we'll also see Segment and Particle and others. And then once that data gets to Snowflake, that really serves as the data warehouse and the center of the data universe for a lot of our clients. And so what they're doing in Snowflake is we're seeing a lot of them use open source tools to start to organize that customer data. Typically, they're putting together, customers tables, transactions and purchases, as well as event data, like what are they doing in our mobile app? And they're using tools, we've seen a lot around Airflow as well as dbt, picking up a lot of steam. And then they'll have the visualization BI layer, Power BI, Looker, Tableau to be able to get insights into the data. And then they're running machine learning workloads to say, hey, I want to predict something like customer churn. Is my customer at risk of churning? And they're doing a lot of that work in Google Cloud as well as AWS on top of Snowflake. And so where Flywheel kind of fits into that stack is once a company gets to the point where they brought in their customer data and they're starting to track customers and the purchases, we see the new spaces called the data activation layer. And that's really what Flywheel serves. So what we try to do on top of Snowflake is if you've already centralized your data there, we want to make it super easy to democratize that data to your marketing and sales teams. So you can build audiences and customer segments and then actually activate them to those marketing, sales, and customer service tools that you already use. So these are things like Google Ads, Facebook Ads, Salesforce, Marketo, Braze. So if you're trying to actually influence the customer experience based off the insights and customer data you have in Snowflake, we've built a software to sit on top of Snowflake to activate that data out. And so this is what we're calling holistically is kind of the modern customer data stack with Snowflake at the center of it, and then Flywheel helping with the activation phase.
That's powerful. Tameem, you were talking about earlier before this, the architectural diagram of kind of how you have actually stitched these different pieces together. Can you talk more about that?
Yeah, I can dig a bit into the details here. So in this architecture diagram, it's essentially how Flywheel works behind the scenes, a little bit peek behind the curtain. And in the middle, you'll see Snowflake. And just like the other diagram on the left side, you've got your ingestion layers, which could be AWS, GCP. It's really cloud agnostic in a sense because Snowflake is. So the platform can also be cloud agnostic. And we're running data pipelines using Airflow, the open source tool like Chris mentioned. And from there, we start to export that data to those marketing tools we talked about. So all of this is happening in Snowflake, powered by Snowflake's performance and the querying power we have there. And then everything else is built around it.
And so why did you choose Snowflake to be the core piece of this architecture? Can you talk a little bit more about that?
Yeah, absolutely. So for this to work well, right, the way I usually put it is like, we want to make it so that people can be like wizards with their data. They can just do whatever they want very quickly. And for that, you want performance. So Flywheel has a web UI that you will see in the demo. It has to work fast. It has to work quick. And Snowflake gives us the raw power. And the secondary thing is also security, right? With governance and all the privacy concerns and things going on, Snowflake has all of that built in, which allows the team to really manage their data well. So it made sense for us to build on top of Snowflake. And just a quick other thing is too, right? People in the industry also settled on Snowflake. So you can see the community around Snowflake. So because people are already centralizing in there, it makes total sense.
That's awesome. And so, from here, right, let's see a demo.
That sounds great. We'll pull that up. So I think the thing to just stress up front, and Tameem did this in the architecture diagram, is this is a very deep integration with Snowflake. A lot of what we do rests on, and this speaks to your question, Daniel, of why build on Snowflake? Well, as folks are starting to centralize their customer data there, it's the perfect logical jump off point because we want to make it as easy as possible to activate that data without extra work. We don't want you to send your data out of Snowflake. We want it to be in Snowflake and then activate straight from there to lessen the work on the customer. So really the demo starts out in the Snowflake UI. Usually our customers have started putting their customer data into a single place in a sources database within Snowflake itself. So here you can see there's a customers table, transactions table, which is all the purchases the customers have made, and an events table. And the events table shows things like, what are they doing in the mobile application? So this is kind of a typical data arrangement you'll see in Snowflake. And I'm going to show you how you hook that up to Flywheel in under 5 minutes and actually start creating customer segments without using SQL. So we're going to go over to the data sets panel within Flywheel. And what I'm going to show you is actually how to hook up those data sets we were just looking at in Snowflake. So I'm going to choose, in this case, I want to load a transactions data set that you just saw. And so we're going to select the database that's within. Then we're going to select the transactions table. This is the exact name you saw in Snowflake. And then we're going to provide some configuration. You can give it a name quickly so you can see that in the application to make it easier on users. And then we're going to put what the unique key is and what fields you want to show by default in Flywheel to make it even easier on your business users to leverage this data when they're creating their customer segments. And then we tell you behind the scenes how to actually join this purchase data to the customer table. This is kind of a key point because you don't want business users to even know what a join is. You just want to have all this SQL automated behind the scenes, and that's the key to it. So we'll go ahead and press create. And now we can actually go ahead and start creating audiences on Snowflake data. It's that simple. So we're going to go over and select new audience. And you can see right away, I can see there's 1 million customers in my Snowflake instance that I could be targeting. And then I can actually see filters that are columns on my Snowflake tables and start filtering on them. So I can add in that I want to actually target customers that are spending over a few $100s as a simple field to target my high spending customers. And then as I do that, we're actually running a query in Snowflake and providing an updated count. And you can see that on the right-hand side, it's 438,000 customers have spent a few $100s with our business. So the whole goal here is to make it very easy on the marketing and sales team to start creating those customer segments on the Snowflake data and go on from there.
So this is a pretty powerful platform. You know, it really seems like you're able to do a lot on Snowflake and directly query the data. Does the data have to move out of Snowflake at any point during this process?
Yeah, that's a key point. Is really what's happening here is we're generating the SQL and running it in your Snowflake instance. And that's kind of the beauty is instead of having to take all your data from Snowflake and send it to another platform, you don't have to do that. So if you've already done the work in Snowflake, you're able to set this up as fast as we just did and actually query the data in place. Yeah, and so from there, you can save this audience, you can share it with other people on your team, but really the key is you can activate it. So you can actually go ahead and press export and then choose a destination channel that you set up within Flywheel. In this case, we have MailChimp. So if you want to send an email to all these high spending customers, you could go ahead and export the data to MailChimp. You can export it to Facebook ads, Google ads, Marketo, the destination marketing and sales tools that you're going to actually leverage that customer data to improve the customer experience. And then finally, once you've created the audiences, you can share them amongst your team so you know what you're targeting for different programs for each of these marketing and sales channels. And one of the key things that's going to be happening behind the scenes is we're still leveraging Snowflake. We're actually doing two things here. As you export to MailChimp in this instance, we're actually going to be updating that segment. So everybody that's spending a few $100s, people are spending a few $100s and being added to that audience in Snowflake. And so we actually export that audience every hour to MailChimp and run that query on Snowflake to do it. So it's always up to date in your destination platform. And then the second piece is we're actually writing the audience back to Snowflake. So if you want to know who's in this high spender audience, it's actually sitting in an audiences table in Snowflake so your BI team can leverage it and do visualization.
That's incredible. I mean, it's to see such a tight integration between your platform and the capabilities of Snowflake is exciting from my side. During your process of leveraging Snowflake, what's next for Flywheel, right? A lot of questions that I get, for example, is how can customers of Snowflake join data from the data marketplace to even have like better insights, right? What's kind of next in the line for Flywheel?
Yeah, we see a ton of potential in exactly what you just mentioned on the data marketplace side. Is if you think about it, if you're starting to centralize your customer data and what you know about what they purchase and what they're doing in the mobile applications in Snowflake, the next question is, well, can I get demographic data? Can I get other data that's going to augment what I have about the customers so I can create even more targeted segments so I can give them a better experience in the marketing, sales, customer service channel? So Snowflake Data Marketplace, in terms of adding that data easily to your customer data model to surface in Flywheel, has been a huge boon and something we're talking to a lot of our customers about.
That's exciting. Tameem, what is kind of next in the roadmap from a technology perspective for the platform?
Yeah, in terms of technology, like we want to get more into intelligence, audience, and segmentation eventually, right? So if you have your data, can we give you machine learning models you can run on it and other types of regression models that we can run on it to give you more insights into your segments and your users? And that's where we kind of see you going. And also on the reporting side of like, if you run a campaign on a segment of users, was it successful or not? Because you're using Snowflake and you're bringing back all your revenue, metrics, events data back, you can actually make the correlation, which is not usually possible in other tools.
Exciting. Chris, Tameem, for our viewers today that want to learn more about Flywheel and the product that you built, where should they go?
Yeah, you can go to our website at flywheelsoftware.com or just reach out directly to Tameem or myself or solutions@flywheelsoftware.com, and we can get a Flywheel engineer to kind of talk through the modern data stack. A lot of what we do up front is just free consultations around, hey, where's my data stack today? How am I putting that data in Snowflake so that I can activate it? And we're happy to be a friendly advisor and help out on that front.
Perfect. And for everybody else looking and watching this video today, if you're looking to build your application on Snowflake, check out developers.snowflake.com. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you everybody for your time today. Appreciate it. And thanks for watching.